Welcome everybody, it's Unstoppable Stelezzi here with another Age of Mythology Retold casted game from the Deities of Death Clan. So this time we got ourselves a nice 3 versus 3 to look at. A lot more players participating in this, so you can imagine it's going to be a pretty chaotic game to say the least. Without further ado, let's get started with it right now, and let's go through everything. So in this particular game, we got 2 Raws teamed up with the Gaia. And then on the other side, we got Kronos, Posiedon, and Loki teamed up. Quite a lot of different playstyles that we're going to see here, right? Definitely one that really intrigues me is going to be the Ra and Gaia one, since there's a lot of economic potential there. But also, you know, Kronos and Loki having that myth unit synergy with each other, so we might see a lot of myth stuff from Loki and Kronos for sure, and then they'll have a bit of cavalry obviously from Posiedon, so that should be really fun. Looks like the Ra over here builds a monument right away, the monument to the villagers, right? So if you didn't know, Ra is very specialized in his empowering, right? So basically with Ra, you have the ability to actually empower buildings with your priests, which you can't do with Isis or Set. So basically with Ra, you have the potential of empowering so many buildings that you couldn't in any other situation, right? Now, the empowering ability of the priest is a little bit reduced, right? It's only 70% of the pharaoh, but still 70%, still good. Also, if you build a monument as Ra, you can actually take your pharaoh and he'll empower this, and then in this huge circle, see this red circle here? He'll empower all of these buildings around it. At about, again, 70% of the capacity of the pharaoh if he was concentrated on one building. So basically, you can empower everything at the same time. It's really good. It's really efficient, pretty much. And then all the while, any priest you got can also empower other stuff too, so yeah, that's really neat. And why is empowering so important? Because as you know, with empowerment, it basically makes the building more efficient at what it does, right? Obviously, for a barracks, it's going to help you to train things faster. When you empower a drop-off point like this, it's going to make the economic aspect more efficient. So yeah, basically, empowering is really important when you're playing as the Egyptians. It's like the most important asset you can do for economics. And this is why the other Ra over here did exactly the same thing. They built a monument to the villagers, and then the pharaoh is just going to empower it. And look, the town center is empowered, the mining camp is empowered, the temple is, the tower, literally everything here is empowered now. This whole entire big green circle. Yeah, so basically if you're going to play Ra, make sure that you build a monument right away and you put your pharaoh on it. It's going to save you so much time. It's going to make things so efficient for you. So definitely do that, right? Because, yeah, see how big this ring is. This is a lot of empowerment right here. Yeah. Other than that, though, you got Gaia is their other ally. Now, the way Gaia works is basically you have it so that you can build your economic guild, right? And basically, you can get the technologies for cheaper, and the techs will be available in age earlier. So, basically, once you hit the second age, you can already sort of get the economic techs that you normally could in the heroic age that much earlier. So, basically, you're going to have a much better starting economy as Gaia, because you're going to be able to get those second farming, mining, and wood chopping technologies as early as the second age, so that's really good, pretty much. And also, you start the game with the hero citizens, so citizens basically do their jobs a lot more efficient. And then, if you want to take any more citizens and turn them into heroes, the cost of doing so is a little bit discounted, right? So basically, we're seeing a lot of economic potential here. We're seeing the 2 Ra's using their monuments to empower their entire base, and we're seeing Gaia obviously going for a lot of early eco-techs from their economic guild over here. Now, on the other side of the aisle, we got a very different thing going on. So we got Posiedon all the way over here, right? playing the pretty normal build order. Looks like they did set up their lore over there. Basically the lore, well, lore's in the huntables, right? To come close to it. As well as spawning out some chickens too. So it gives you a little bit of extra food, even if there's not a lot of hunts in that area, which is pretty cool. And on top of that, we got a Loki here, and then we got a Kronos. So basically these two, I think, are going to contribute a lot to the combat, right? Especially Kronos in the early game, because as you know with Kronos, every time Kronos ages up with the new minor god, they get 2 copies of a myth unit instead of just 1. So just a little bit more pressure they can inflict on the enemy, pretty much. It looks like they also just turned one of their citizens into a hero, get just a little bit more food out of it. Always the cool thing about the Atlanteans is they sort of give me a bit of a reminiscence to Age of Empires 3, because with these particular villagers, you don't need a drop-off point. They just sort of stand there and gather, just like the Age of Empires 3 settlers do, which is really cool, because you can save on a lot of wood that way, right? And they also gather pretty well too, you know what I mean? They're a very pop-heavy build, but they get the job done quite nicely. And it's a lot less focus on macro, and you can focus more on the military stuff, I find. Right, looks like Loki has built this healing spring right here. This thing is basically a field hospital from AoE 3 on steroids, because everything in the sort of trajectory of this thing is going to get healed up while they're standing or even moving there. Yeah, so what we're seeing from the Loki player is something called a Resouce rush. And basically with that, the idea is you're going to basically spam a ton of Resouces as Loki, because as you know, about 50% of the damage you do with the Resouce can conjure up a myth unit, a random myth unit. So basically, if you can stack a ton of these Resouces and get a lot of damage done, you're going to be getting extra myth units, right? Extra trolls, extra inheres, and later on extra giants. It's really good. It's quite good, actually. So basically, whenever you're playing Loki, it's quite normal to see them just spam a bunch of Resouces like this at the start and try to get a bunch of extra myth units in the process. That being said, it can get a little chaotic because, of course, your enemies are going to spam a lot of human units to get those multipliers in against your hero units. So yeah, we see a lot of spearmen here. We also see some more spearmen and also some murmillos from the Gaia player there. So a lot of infantry spam against these Resouces, right? And I guarantee you, sooner rather than later, we're going to see some extra myth units come out of this, right? Looks like we do have some Wajets there from one of the Raw players there. Myth unit that shoots venom out, pretty much. Sort of like an archer unit. And we do see some spearmen coming down over here as well. Looks like Loki used his ability to basically see where these units are going. Very smart, quick use of it. Looks like all the pressure is on the Loki right now, so the Loki better watch out. Definitely having the healing spring in your base is going to be a good source of rejuvenation, basically to keep your army alive longer, so that you can sort of hold out here until your allies can come and save the day, right? Looks like the Gaia does have some Caladrias here to basically heal up some of their troops and keep these Murmillos going a bit longer, which is pretty smart, right? And we do see lots of spearmen and slingers here from the Red Rob player, as well as the Wajets, also a few priests. What is the Loki going to do? So they're forced to move their gatherers away from that particular front. We also see this dwarf ox card redeveloping again. Good thing about Loki is you get cheaper ox cards. So if you lose them, you can actually rebuild them pretty cheaply, which is very good indeed. Yeah. And so now what we see is we have throwing axemen here trying to take advantage of their bonus damage against these spearmen. Resouces are going to try to retreat and try to keep themselves alive as long as possible using the healing spring. And then I think as soon as the Wajets are exposed, they're going to come right in and slam them with their hammers right away. That's probably the best thing you can do. Wow, look at what we see from the Posiedon. The Posiedon is actually trying to offload some of the pressure there by actually riding around with his Hippias and trying to take out villagers. It's not going very well, though. They're getting chased by both Egypts, both Raws, and their spearmen. So these Hippias are going to have to move pretty quickly to stay out of trouble from that, pretty much, yeah. And what are we seeing over here? We're seeing the Hersers and throwing Axemen trying to push back on these spearmen now. Looks like Kronos is getting a bit of security now, you know what I mean? I mean, they have a little bit of troops. They got the Star and Prometheans that they had, some Murmillos, also some Kiro Ballistas there, but nothing too much, you know what I mean? I think the Kronos will be able to play a bit more economically, honestly, at this point. They also, it looks like they did fight a bit earlier with some Prometheans because you can see their offspring right here. And we got a bit of a ceasefire from the Posiedon. Basically to help give, I think, Loki some time to rebuild a bit, get some more resources, and hopefully set up a bit of a defense for himself against all these encroaching players. Yep. And now what we're seeing is we're seeing the little army from Kronos move forward onto the Ra position over here. I don't think they'll get very far, though. The Egypt player did a great job at protecting the towers with the houses. This is absolutely something you need to do in Age of Mythology, is get in the habit of surround your towers with houses, right? Since you need the houses anyway for pop, you may as well use them as a protective wall around those towers, because the towers, as you know, are going to be one of the most critical structures from preventing your base from getting completely sieged and swamped by infantry and archers, pretty much. So you got to make sure you do that, right? Looks like Poseidon is going up with Aphrodite there. Very economic, minor god. I love those Nemean lions and their roar ability. Those things are literally insane. Let's check in on some of the other players, though. Let's see what Loki's doing. So, Loki. Also, we could check on the Kronos, see what the Kronos is doing. So, it looks like the Kronos player is making Contrarius and medium Murmillos, looks like. Because of all the lack of pressure on the Kronos player, he actually was able to get to the Heroic Age and start pumping out some more units then, right? These Contrarius will be good against Slingers, and then the Murmillos will be pretty good against the Spearmen. So maybe we'll see a major push by the Kronos player. Who knows, right? Now we see the Hippias trying to cut through some of these Gaia units. Looks like the guy is getting some Caltopeltes, though, from their counter barracks, so you better watch out from that. Oh, looks like a Carnivore has come up there to defend against the Hippias. Unfortunately, you know, too little too late. It doesn't look like it's actually going to get to eat anything right now. Maybe when another army comes through here, the Carnova will actually get to eat something. Now we see citizens walking right into the Hippias. What is that? You can't do that. You're going to lose all those gold gatherers. Yep, Termas. What are Termas going to do against Hippias? This is horrible. You need to get Catapeltes. You need the counter cavalry right now. Absolutely. This is very bad. Right. Looks like the Kronos did try to plop a counter barracks right up here using the time shift ability pretty much. So, doesn't look like it survived. Yeah, no. I don't think you can just stick a counter barracks up on the front lines like that with that ability and have it do anything of use, you know? And it looks like the priests are going to set up an obelisk here too to get some line of sight. Very smart move. Yeah, it looks like Kronos will have to establish over here a bit, it looks like. A lot of heavy Murmillos now. You got more Prometheans, some Contrarius, Sheer Ballistas. And then you got the Satyrs here as well. 2 copies of them, since again, when you age up as Kronos, you get 2 copies of a Miphion instead of just 1. And what are we seeing over here from Loki? Loki is going to start setting up a hill fort now, probably trying to build a bit of a base after what they went through in the early game. Yep. Look at these spearmen, though, being a total nuisance, attacking citizens there. You don't want to lose the citizens. You know, the citizens are very expensive to retrain, so if you lose a lot of them, it does hold you back pretty badly. And now we see the other Egypt coming in with their spearmen too, kind of missing, but not really, because now they're going to attack again. They're going to get at least 1 citizen, it looks like. They're probably going to get another one. These spearmen are probably going to get some citizens too. And that's pretty powerful right there. Let's check on the Gaia player, see what the Gaia player is doing. So it looks like the Gaia player, as I recommended, is going to get the catapultes, also picking up the weighted mace, an additional technology to boost up the catapultes even further in their damage, which is quite good. And let's see right here, it looks like throwing axemen going up against the Termas, Hersers coming in too. Look at all these trolls that the Loki was able to put up pretty much. They were pretty good. They were pretty good early myth archer unit with a really nice charge attack where they take a big stone over its head and lob it at you and does some knockback. It's really powerful. Also, we see the battle boar coming out over here from the side. Battle boar is obviously a really good unit for disrupting the front lines. They do their little charge thing where they kick around and send things flying, allowing you to take out units one-on-one pretty much, yeah. We see that the Gaia player is setting up Lush over there. When you use the Lush ability, it basically builds a bunch of trees in that area, right? Trees that you can gather wood from, and acts as a bit of a natural barrier too. Kind of prevent the Loki from actually surround this military barracks completely, right? Looks like a Inheri also spawned over here too, I believe. So that's going to provide a bit of additional battle performance. Looks like a battle boar. Did a battle boar spawn over here? If that's the case, that's pretty big. Yep. We do see some heavy spearmen here from one of the Egypts, though, trying to clear this out. You really don't want this Gaia player falling at all. That would be pretty much a GG situation. Yeah, also looks like the Poseidon sent some Hippias in, as well as the Nemean line. The Nemean line is going to be a big contender here because it's going to do its roar. Then when it roars, look at it stun everything. Gives you basically some unedited seconds to basically wipe out stuff with these. Looks like the Hesperides tree is up here to defend Gaia's base. Basically, it makes these things called dryads. These are basically a pretty cheap and spammable myth unit that you can make from the tree. For every one of these trees that you own, you can have up to 5 of them. It's a nice support unit. It also doesn't cost any population too. So basically, if you max out on your pop, you can still make them as an additional source of melee firepower pretty much. Speaking of firepower, now we see the Symptophalian birds here. These things are very powerful range units. So basically, they shoot tons of these razor blade type feathers at the enemy pretty much. And they do a lot of overall damage to human units. Basically, if Gaia wants to survive, they're going to need more of these things. And it looks like they do have some Caladrias too to help heal stuff up, which is pretty smart. I think with these Symptophalian birds, you should be able to clean out these trolls and axemen pretty easily. Yeah, I think so. Right. Hersers coming up from the side though. Looks like a Frost Giant spawns out now. Now the Frost Giant will be a great asset since of course it has a charge ability where it shoots its ice breath, freezes a unit, and then proceeds to attack other units with its big body pretty much. Dryads also swinging away here, it looks like. Some Arcus coming out. Looks like all the action's going on over here, but it looks like there might be something developing over here too. We see some Argus here from the Kronos player. About 2 of them, since you get 2 copies of a myth unit when you age up as Kronos. And what's going on with this rock? What is this rock going to do? Basically, rocks transport units. So whenever you see a rock flying over your base, you should kind of be worried because you just don't know what's inside of that thing. What is it going to drop off pretty much? Right, you have to be really on top of these rocks whenever you see them. Coming back to over here, it looks like we have a building of a settlement here by Loki. Sort of set up that forward base pretty much. Maintain that control where they are. We do see some of the ranged heroes here of the Norse pretty much to try to defend against all these dryads coming out. Maybe target the Symptophalian birds. It looks like they get one of them. That one gets away though. And over on this side, we see a nice mass of Kronos units. And they are going to try to intercept one of the Egypts, I believe. You can see them coming over on this side right now. Looks like Gaia just got her channel technology now, so that her units can actually run faster while they're in Lush. Lush is basically all this green here. All this green grassy ground is lush. Now the military units are actually going to move faster through that lush and be able to reach their intended targets a lot faster, at least in that part of the map where the lush is. Right, and that's why with Gaia it's a great idea to build lots of buildings, because then you'll have more and more lush to work with, right? And obviously using the lush god ability too to build even more lush forests, right? Coming back to over here, we still see the Egypt players using their monument to the villagers with the pharaoh to empower all the nearby buildings. That's why you see these bases is pretty closely knit together for the Raws, because they want the buildings super duper close, so the pharaoh ends up empowering every single one of them pretty much, yeah. Now we see the heavy spearmen retreating to the back over here, and the heavy spearmen will start to fight the Hippias since they counter them. Right, and now we see the Hippias sort of starting to retreat, and they're going to be helped by a big army of Toxotes now, these nice archers that have a bonus against infantry. Yep, the Toxotes clean that up pretty easily. And coming over here, we see some more spearmen from one of the Raw players. Looking to do a bit of damage here, getting a bit snared there by a Marmillo. Let's see if they can wipe that out pretty easily. It's going to take a while, but yeah, it looks like they don't lose anyone in that fight. Right, and now we see the Loki and the Gaia still hitting it off with each other quite a lot. Looks like the Green Raw player has some mummies now. Mummies are a very scary unit to deal with because they kill one of your human units and then turn them into a little minion, and then that minion will continue to attack your units. It's making it a pretty devastating thing to deal with pretty much, especially when you have very high statted expensive stuff like war elephants, cavalry. The mummies can completely ruin your day pretty much, yeah. Also looks like some infantry is coming there from the other Raw, as well as the Petsuchos. Basically a little crocodile that shoots sunbeams out of its head as a sort of an archer unit. Loki doing a good job with the hill forts, making sure they maintain their building presence there. It's going to be the only way they hold the line against Gaia. Seems like the Gaia player is the weakest scored one on their team right now, just because of all the pressure they've had to deal with, right? Now, one thing that is helping the Gaia player, of course, is the fact that they have access to their final Mythic Age farming technology, as well as the wood and the gold one an age early. So technically, if they can get the number of citizens they need, they should kind of be on par with the rest of the players, at least in the economic sense. Now, in terms of the military sense, they got to reach that Mythic Age rather soon, so that they can basically be able to keep up with the stats of the units. Because it doesn't matter if you have a good economy, if your units fall too fast, you're going to burn through lots of resources just keeping an army together if those units, can't stay around for much. Right, we see another Symptophilian bird there, trying to clean up some of the stuff. It's a bit hard though, since a lot of the units attacking are the Huskarls. Huskarls, just like in Age of Empires 2, a very tanky, anti-archer type of infantry. So almost like a cavalry in a sense, right? Well, not quite. They're still infantry, but these particular ones are basically impervious to arrows and other range attacks like that. Also some Toxotes from the Posiedon also helping out the Huskarls and picking off the villagers there. It's a pretty deep attack. I mean, look, the end of the map is right here. If the Toxotes and the Huskarls can get that deep, that's really significant. Yeah, and then we also have a friend werewolf there as well, damaging some stuff. Yeah, let's see if they can get that gold over there too. Wipe that out. Let's go back to one of the Egypts, see what they're doing. So Egypts seem to be going all infantry right now. Spamming of Axemen in particular. Axemen will be great for cutting through the Huskarls, I would say. So that's good. And what else? What's the other Raw doing? The other Raw is starting to get some trade going, It's about that point in the match where you want to start getting some camel caravans if you're Raw. Because eventually the map's going to run out of gold mines, and once you run out of those, you're basically toast, because just about everything in this game costs food and gold pretty much. So you really need to make sure your gold eco is looking pretty good. Yeah, big time. If we look over there, it looks like all those infantry are starting to slice their way through the hippiest pretty much. Yep. Well, a little bit. It looks like they kind of just ignored them, and now they're going a bit deep now into the Kronos base, trying to take as much buildings as possible, taking out a manor, taking out a tower. See what these infantry can actually get done while they're here. It would be a great job if they could really devastate the Kronos and maybe force the Posiedon over to them, right? Like they're doing right now. You can see Posiedon here sending tons of Tuxos and Hippias just to clean up this wound in their base, pretty much, yeah. And now the Kronos did try to keep them out. They did try to put a wall here, this one, but they were able to break through. Now it looks like the battle boars are starting to cut their way through all the manors now, yep. Contrarius attacking the trolls, yeah. Looks like a rock giant did spawn from one of the Hersers. Pretty good myth unit, but unfortunately it is taken out. Look at all the battle boars that the Loki spammed pretty much. Battle boars, when you have this many of them, you better watch out if you're Gaia, because they'll just do their little kicking ability and all their stuff will go flying. It's a really nice way to basically disrupt their front lines and be able to divide and conquer their units. We do see one of the Egypts there, the green one, start to use their chariot archers against all this infantry coming in, right? Do we see some berserkers there? Yeah, I see some berserkers among the Loki numbers there. I wonder if they're transforming some of these from the village units, right? Because for Loki, he gets a discount on transforming gatherers and the dwarves into the berserkers. So it's totally possible Loki has taken his excess villagers and turned them into more warriors to send up front. Definitely. Coming back to over here, it looks like more spearmen driving in from the Egypt. The other Egypt has some camel riders. Camel riders will be a great counter to cavalry, right? And they're also very good against archers and good against vills, right? They got that rating potential since they're a fast unit. Coming over here, we see Hippias trying to engage with the infantry pretty much, yeah. Very interesting, yeah. Now we see camel riders trying to fight Hypasus. Not the best counter, but I guess it's going to work pretty much, yeah. So now we have a big fight going on over here. Look at everything going on. So we see Loki in retreat. We see the spearmen chasing him. We see chariot archers chasing him. Over here we see Gaia starting to gain some ground. All the Egyptian infantry, they're destroying all the buildings. They're even getting the town center out. This is a huge push right here. Like, Loki is losing a lot of ground right now. Loki does not have a lot to work with here. This is quite devastating. Quite devastating indeed. So now we see a fire siphon from the Kronos. The good thing is with Kronos, whenever you lose siege weapons and myth units, you do get some of that spent or resource cost return into your stockpile. I think it's about 20%. So it's good to be risky with siege weapons and myth units when you're Kronos, because you're not really putting in that much, because you're going to get about 20% of it back by doing that. Chariot Archer's doing a good job at kiting, it looks like, against the Arcus and the Fire Siphon. Here comes some mummies as well. Mummies will be great for targeting stuff and turning them into minions. Yep, you can see some of the minions there right now. These little guys, these little mummy-looking guys here. We see another push by... Oh, GG. GG. So it looks like Loki kind of collapsed here. Yeah, they were pushed way too hard by multiple people coming at them at the same time, and they just completely collapsed. Yeah, that was an interesting one. It was, definitely. So you're going to have to tell me what you thought about this casting. It's my first time casting a team game. First one I did was just a 1v1. This was a team game, so there was a lot of stuff going on that I had to sort of take in. So definitely rate me on it. Otherwise, see you on the next one whenever I get some more recordings. Sign off now. GG, well played, everybody.